Wherefore the law is holy, and the commandment is holy and just and good. Was then that which was good made death unto me? God forbid, but sin, that it might appear sin, working death in me by that which is good, that sin by the commandment might become exceeding sinful. Now, that's a bunch of words. Paul can get wordy. Now, I have in here this phrase. That is when you realize the double bind. Okay? Jesus says, if you look on a woman to lust after her, you committed adultery already in your heart. What's happening there? That's a double bind. And it's almost like a Zen koan. It's designed to get you to realize that the standard cannot be kept. And so, while our legalistic independent Baptist friends and our Pentecostal friends and some of these legalistic types and the hard shell Calvinists and all those, they will double down and they will try to control everything a woman wears. They will try to control, let thine eyes look straight on, let thine eyes look straight before thee. Job said, I have made a covenant with my eyes, why then should I look upon a maid? They can have all these things about dirty thoughts and not looking at women and women dressing modestly and all this. All that does is put a whole bunch of nonsense on your salience landscape in the way of everything else you should be aiming at. And it is absolute profane disorientation to do that to somebody, to put them in a legalistic environment right there. The point of what Jesus is saying is not to get you to double down, to never look at a woman and have a quote unquote adulterous thought. That's not the point. The point is to realize that it's a double bind, and that it's not something that can be done. It's like telling somebody you must love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, and soul, but you can't do it because you were told. You have to do it of your own volition, generatively, sui generously. And like, well, but you've already told me about it, and that's the only way I would know to do that. Otherwise, so it's a double bind. The point is to realize a double bind. And once you start to realize some of the double binds in the Bible, if you are too cynical and too nihilistic and cynical, you will start to think that the Bible has contradictions in it, and you will be tempted to walk away from it and forsake Christianity because the Bible's full of contradictions or full of stupid nonsense that can't be followed, that sort of thing. But on the other hand, if you look at it through the eyes of wisdom, wisdom is justified of her children, you realize that you are being brought to the point of a double bind on purpose, so that you can wake up to it and start to develop a point in time when you're going to leave the raft behind you. There's an old saying from the East where after you use the raft to cross the river, leave the raft there, don't keep taking it with you. Or when even the Buddhists would say, Buddha himself would say, okay, after you follow the Eightfold Noble Path, you will get to a point where you realize you don't need it. And that's the point. But you had to follow it in order to get to the point where you realized you didn't need it. Like on a space shuttle, they shed their booster rockets at a certain point. Well, they needed them to get to that certain height, but then you come to a certain point where you realize you don't need them anymore, and you cannot proceed with them. Okay, so these double bind things, you cannot proceed forward in growth if you take these double binds as literal legalistic rules and morals to follow. The idea is for you to awaken to the point that you need to transcend them. That's the idea.